So I've had all kinds of people come on and comment about this video. I'm glad it's getting attention. But if you post ableist or political comments about somebody being in court, those comments are going to get deleted. Period. That's not what this is about. I've even had a doctor, someone that had MD in their name, come on and make ableist comments. And those comments will not stand here. Period. This and North Carolina is a Democrat-controlled state. Roy Cooper is one of the most crooked people in existence that I've ever had the displeasure of having to interface with. And I've been in court with the Attorney General's office when Cooper was the Attorney General. So, saying that it's Trump or Biden, that's bullshit. And I'm not going to get distracted here. The problem is we've got a disabled individual that needs access to court. The other comments that are getting deleted are this. People talking about, and I want to explain this, people talking about how people have abused the ADA. What they're talking about is Title III of the ADA, public accommodations, especially in places like California, where they also have the Unruh Act. So somebody goes in as what's called a tester, and they go in, and they may not even have any disability at all, but if the place has a non-compliance issue, they can sue the place. And it's cheaper for the place to pay the $10,000 than it is to get a lawyer and go through court. And there are lawyers who have taken advantage of this. The problem with people seeing the ADA as a one-size-fits-all as far as the titles go, Title I is employment-employer. Employment ADA Title I, they can ask for medical documentation if you ask for an accommodation at work. Title II, they cannot. There is no right for them in Title II to ask for medical documentation before they give you an accommodation. Title III, they cannot. That's public accommodations. So can you imagine people who are deaf having to present a card before they go into Walmart or before they go into Target or a restaurant? What about people with cancer? What about people with traumatic brain injury? Really what that does is shun them, shame them, and cause them to be further removed. We're not talking about Social Security disability either. Yes, you have to prove you have a disability to get Social Security disability, but that's not what this is about. Social Security disability and the ADA are two totally different animals and separate. And so you getting it confused, if you do, those comments are getting deleted because this is not the place for that. This is a person who has communication disabilities, needs equal access in court, and a court who has come face to face with a law that is 34 years old and doesn't know their ass from a hole in the ground, Jeffrey Moreland, or his general counsel, or the state of Vermont's policy that he depended on. The things that he was asking, those are things that can be discovered, but I put those in my letter. The nature of her disability, how it affected them, what major life activities were affected, all that was in my letter, and the doctor signed off on the reasonableness of that letter. So this judge saying that he didn't have the correct documentation, we're going to find out about that. Okay? But these things that distract from what the real message is, people do not get access in court. Dr. Judith Herman, in her book, Trauma and Recovery, said, if one set out by design to create a system for provoking intrusive post-traumatic symptoms, one could not do better than a court of law. That's a true statement. And she's a doctor too. So what we have here is a long train of abuses. And if you go look at the case Tennessee versus Lane, which is 541 U.S. 509 in 2004, you'll see in that case they admit that courts, even though they're supposed to be accessible, have continued to deny access to the most vulnerable people in society. And when you go to federal court, you have to have prima facie evidence that you had a disability to bring a claim against a state entity. So if you ask for ADA rights in state court and you go to federal court and you don't have any proof, your case is going to get thrown out. Period. But here's the other problem. Here's the final problem and the main problem. Under Title I, employment, you can get damages. If an employer sues you, or an employer fires you, or harms you, or has adverse action, that's what it's called, because of a disability that you've invoked and they haven't accommodated, and this is not legal advice, but you can get damages from them. In Title III, public accommodations, you can get some damages, but not punitive damages. In Title II, you can get compensatory damages, but not punitive damages. In Title I, you can get punitive damages, but not in Titles II or III. And so what you've got is a system, and I've got a video further down on this channel in the playlist of William Gorin, the attorney that writes the book for the American Bar Association called Understanding the ADA. He says lawyers are afraid to take state courts on because of threats of disbarment and other proceedings. And says courts will fight back hard. And it's career suicide for a lawyer to defend a case against a court in favor of someone who's disabled. So what you have are a bunch of people going into court with disabilities that have no access to the court system. The courts have tied the hands of the legal industry from policing itself in this case. So why am I so angry? Why do I curse? Because I've seen it and it makes me angry, and this is a healthy way for me to express my rage. And also, it's a prescribed mitigator for me with CPTSD. And if you don't like my cursing, fuck you. I don't care. And if you don't like it that I cursed in that first video, my behavior in court had no cursing in it. My explanation of what happened in court had quite a bit. There's a difference. And if you say my tone is wrong, maybe you need to quit being such a fucking pacifist and get angry too.